Michael Patrick, Shiels radio stations across the battleground state of Michigan with Saul Anuzis, who was chair of the Michigan Republican Party. Saul, we've got an author on the line with us right now and a television producer. And his latest book is called Beyond Biden, Rebuilding the America We Love. He's a man who has moved from Rome to Naples, Rome, Italy, to Naples, Florida. And his name is Newt Gingrich. He was the United States Speaker of the House, and I know he's a good friend of yours. Mr. Speaker, welcome back to the program.
Well, I'm glad to be with you, and I'm always delighted to be with Saul Anuzis, who's been such a leader in the conservative movement and the Republican Party.
Look at that, Saul.
There you
Not
go.
bad.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was great to have you here, and it was great to see you last week. We had a chance. We were down at ALEC together, the American Legislative Exchange Council, and having some conversations there. And one of the things that we brought up and what was being talked about was President Biden's initiative with the Build Back Better and the moves they're doing actually to shift funding from Medicare with regards to over $500 billion into like Green New Deals and other things. And I was wondering, as you take a look at your new book talking about what's next post-Biden, how do you think the Democrats are handling things nationally and how the president is doing things nationally?
Well, look, I think the fact is that big government socialism just doesn't work. It's not about ideology. It's about practical common sense. These things just don't work. And I think we have to recognize, just go around Michigan and ask folks about the price of gasoline or the price of food or a whole range of issues, the rising crime rate in our major cities, the big city schools that just aren't educating. All these things come together, plus 1,400,000 people crossing the border illegally with nobody knowing, do they have COVID or do they have criminal records? I mean, what's the deal? So I think from every perspective, it's fair to say these guys can't solve things, and I'm looking forward to seeing the outcome of today's phone call between Putin and Biden, because I have a hunch that Biden has no standing with Putin. Putin's not afraid of him, doesn't think he's a serious person, and doesn't take his warnings or his threats seriously. So that's a real problem if you're trying to solve problems around the world and people just don't believe in you.
So what does that mean for Ukraine? What does it mean for NATO with what's the challenges that are in front of us now?
I think what it means is that it's up to Putin. He's the guy that has the clout and the ability to decide things. It's not up to Biden because nobody's going to listen to Biden. Right. Hold on one second.
Speaker Gingrich is taking care of another call right now. He's going to come right back.
Well, it might be President Biden asking what he should do and what he should not do.
He's multitasking. There's no question about that. And maybe we'll have to reconnect there. But why do you think he said that Vladimir Putin wouldn't take the president of the United States seriously? He's been in office as a United States senator and vice president. It's not like he doesn't have experience.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of frustration and a lot of concern whether President Biden is actually in control and running the day-to-day operations of the White House. There have been questions about his cognitive abilities, his willingness to lead. You take a look at what Kamala Harris has been doing as vice president, and I mean, there's a lot of chaos on the Democratic side now, and there's a lot of concern with regards to who's really in charge and how things are going to happen and what they're going to do. And does Biden have the political wherewithal to stand up to somebody like President Putin? And you're in a situation where, if you take a look at, the House of Representatives, I mean, they're only 3-4 votes away from keeping control there. So if the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, were to ever lose a couple of moderate Democrats, which, all these Democrats, even Michigan Democrats, said they were going to be independent of Nancy Pelosi, but they voted lock, stock, and barrel with her. But at some stage, they have to worry about their own reelections. The Senate is tied 50-50. So Biden doesn't have a very strong political hand to play back here at home. With his approval ratings dropping the way they are, it makes it very tough for him to be a real leader in the process. And so I think that many of the world leaders, and this is why I think the Chinese are challenging us in Taiwan. This is why Putin is playing games in the Ukraine. This is why, if you take a look at this week, I mean, NATO has stepped up in a very big way. And, the French, the Germans, the Baltic states, others are saying we've got to stand with Ukraine. We cannot, there has to be a line drawn here with respect to having, the Russians at will just conquer another country in the middle of the greatest prosperity we've had in the free world in a long time. So I think that is a big concern that people have, and I think Newt Gingrich is pointing that out, that this is going to be a tough spot for Biden to be in, and it's really going to be a question of what Putin feels like and what does he want to do, and does he try to prove a point? And
I wish we could hear that phone call.
Oh my gosh, it'll be very interesting, and I'm sure there will be a lot released afterwards, but
selectively released.
Yeah, selectively. Look, Biden has to make the point, and I'm sure he will, that this is an unacceptable move. The question is, the problem is, if Putin doesn't listen to him, if Putin doesn't respect kind of the will and the interests of the free world, the Western world, most countries who are oppose any type of interaction like this, what are we going to do about it? And is NATO going to send troops? Is NATO going to send military equipment? Are they going to support them? And we have a similar problem stirring in Taiwan, and these are not good situations for us. And nobody's looking for war. Nobody's looking to get engaged in a new battle somewhere, but that is a problem.
Mitt Romney, I don't know what it means. They decided not to send diplomats to the Olympics.
Yeah, that's not a big deal. I mean, look, I think China is one of the few places that really is a bad, ugly place for us, and these guys are using slave labor and bringing in, whether it's iPhones or Nike or any other group, and it's just so much big money that we're turning a blind eye to slavery in the current century.
I don't know if Speaker Gingrich was running into Seed to Table to get breakfast, or he was teeing it up at Quail West, but he's back on our line, Saul.
Awesome.
Well, and I'm actually talking to you from McLean, Virginia. So.
Oh gosh, get back to Naples.
But so a sign you really know Naples pretty well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'll see you down there.
Yeah, he runs away and takes that summer there.
Vanderbilt Beach.
One of the other things you brought up, Mr. Speaker, was you talked about the theory of this ain't working, and that the way the American people are looking at Biden's policies and those of some of the Democrats, and some of the lessons that we've learned in now Virginia and New Jersey's elections, that the policies that they're putting forward truly aren't working. Can you maybe expand on that a little bit for us?
Well, I think we have very obsolete industrial age bureaucracies, and they just can't keep up with the modern world. And I think you have big unionized power structures that don't want to change anything, even if they're failing. And at the same time, you have a left-wing ideology that has a set of values that literally don't work in the modern world. I mean, we believe in the work ethic. They don't. We believe that you ought to balance the budget. They think you can spend money forever and somehow magically it's all going to work. We believe that America has to be strong to be safe. They believe that if you make nice to your enemies, that somehow they're going to like you. I tell people, I kind of think liberals are people who saw The Lion King as a documentary, and they actually think that lions and zebras dance and sing together. And they're shocked if you tell them that lions actually eat zebras. So just a very different way of thinking about the world.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Well, we've got about 30 seconds left, and as we go into the end of this segment, maybe you could just say a few words about Bob Dole and the hero that America lost who did so much for us.
Well, Callista and I were both very, very fond of Bob and Elizabeth. And of course, yesterday was their 46th wedding anniversary, so everyone should include Elizabeth in their prayers as well as Bob.
We sure will, Mr. Speaker, and you too, and Callista as well. Saul Anuzis, Michael Patrick Shiels, Newt Gingrich.